We are back with bold predictions from the Podfather, from Theo Gremminger for Week 15, Fantasy Football Week 15. NFL action is getting really good, and now we're playing for all the money. And we do not just have bold predictions for Week 15. We have bold predictions for the fantasy playoffs. We have bold predictions for best ball in 2025 and the 2025 NFL draft. Theo, kick us off.
Yeah, so my first prediction, and this one is actually very bold. I'm predicting another big game from Trey McBride. And that's not the bold take, but the bold take is he ends this awful no touchdown streak against New England this week, and he gets not only one receiving touchdown, but he gets two of them. So Trey McBride is at 80 receptions on the season. The all-time record for most receptions without a touchdown is Deontay Johnson. So this is a streak that he really doesn't want to have. And it's been, Matt, this is sort of a player that if he would have caught 5-6 touchdowns, then we would be talking about Trey McBride as the league winner at tight end, because everything else about McBride is just exceptional. He's number 3 overall in targets. He's number 1 in target share at the position, 29% target share.
Well, higher than Bowers?
Higher than Bowers on target share for sure. And then air yard share, he's number 1 as well. So actually red zone targets, Matt, three overall. So really it's been one of the more unlucky seasons. Maybe put something on to Kyler Murray with this one, maybe put something on the offense coordinator, but feed your horse when you're near the goal line. They've got to find a way to get Trey McBride some touchdowns. But I think for me, this is going to be him breaking off a long one for the first touchdown. Not sure how the second touchdown will come. Maybe that one will come a little closer to the line of scrimmage, maybe closer to the goal line. But it's a perfect matchup for him as well. The New England Patriots have allowed the 5th most yardage to opposing tight ends this season. So this is a team that McBride is capable of ripping off a couple of big plays on, and I think that's how he breaks the streak. But it's been a player that we don't want him to hold this record because his season's been too special. He gets 2 touchdowns this week. Everybody breathes a sigh of relief, and McBride becomes a huge factor in the fantasy football playoffs.
Yeah, and on Fast Draft, too, the Flex 6 Frenzy, typically you're not trying to draft too many tight ends because they all score evenly. They're all on par, but if he goes out and scores 2 touchdowns, there's been some tight ends that have been helping people win all the money in the Flex 6 Frenzy on Fast Draft. Trey McBride, interesting, sort of a counterintuitive play. I like it because it eventually, right? Eventually, you flip a coin enough times, you're going to get heads. Eventually, it's going to happen. Now, I know this is the gambler's fallacy that because it hasn't happened, it's bound to happen this week. Not necessarily this week, but it's going to happen in the fantasy playoffs. That's the bottom line. Jalen Waddle, another gambler fallacy where it's like, hey, he's due. No, he's not due, but probability theory-wise, you can't go the entire season with his talent and his role in that offense and not have some double-digit target weeks and then finally 12 targets last week. I think he keeps it rolling thanks to Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith is commanding more attention, and that is opening up Jalen Waddle underneath. Jalen Waddle all over the formation. He is a Terry McLaurin-level talent, and he will continue surging throughout the playoffs. We have his schedule here in front of us. At Houston, so they're going to have to score points to be competitive against Houston. That's a potential shootout. Now you've got San Francisco coming to Miami. So Shanahan versus McDaniel. We're going to love that. It's going to be a bit of a revenge game for McDaniel. It's going to be just a lot of points scored in that game as San Francisco's defense has been hollowed out. And Cleveland. At Cleveland, Week 17, we're hoping for great weather. If the weather cooperates, Cleveland's defense also hollowed out. A lot of shootouts there with Jameis Winston now. We could be looking at Jalen Waddle winning all the money in best ball. If you found a way to get through into the final playoff shootout with Jalen Waddle on your roster, you could have leverage on the field. He will help people win fantasy championships in all formats this year.
Yeah, I like it. And last week was a very positive one for Waddle. Matt, he's been a guy that we've liked at Player Profiler for a long time, and it was sort of like inexplicable usage And I hope you're right. I have some Jalen Waddle shares that I've been on the bench, but I might have to throw him out there in the starting lineup this week. Definitely looked better. And for me, I'm going to go with another sort of Matt Kelly favorite, Chuba Hubbard, who you've been on for several years, ever since his great success at Oklahoma State. But Hubbard is one where he's been really one of the best picks you could have made this year at the running back position. And I think it's going to be a special week for him this week. They go up against the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas has been extremely generous to opposing running backs all season long. And I think this is one where we saw Dallas lose another tough, close game to Cincinnati on Monday Night Football. Now they go up against a team sort of headed in completely the opposite direction of them in the Carolina Panthers. Dave Canales, Bryce Young, this team has like things to play for this season. They are going for it every single game. We saw them take the Kansas City Chiefs to overtime, lose a close game in that one. We saw them go up against Philadelphia this past week, lose by 6. That was one where Carolina really challenged Philly more so than a lot of people thought. But I think that for me, Chuba Hubbard gets you his first 30-point week of the season. I think he's going to score 2 rushing touchdowns against Dallas. I think this is going to be sort of the levee breaks for the Dallas Cowboys, and they lose this game by 10 or more points to Carolina. Bryce Young's going to play well, but it's going to be Chuba Hubbard with his first 30-point game this season. I think Hubbard is going to make a real push to finish as an RB1 this season as well, Matt.
I love it. I love it. And against Dallas.
Dallas.
I mean, it's so perfect. It's so perfect. Dallas in the market for a running back in the NFL draft. And I believe that many weeks ago in this video series, Theo Gremminger predicted that the Dallas Cowboys would select
Ashton Jeanty. The writing was on the wall. Now everybody's saying it, Matt. Every single site is saying it now.
Very popular mock draft destination for Ashton Jeanty. This running back class, every Saturday that goes by, is looking better and better and better and better. Ashton Jeanty, Caleb Johnston, you got Judkins, you got Hampton. Now I'm hearing buzz about Woody Marks as a top 40 pick in the NFL draft. Think about the trends across the NFL. Running backs staying healthy, leading their teams. Saquon Barkley, the master stroke from Howie Roseman. Jerry Jones, infuriated that this team refused to invest in the running back position. So there's been a turning back of the clock in terms of front office strategy, and this will lead to a new influx of first-round running backs. We're going to turn the clock completely back, and 4 running backs, Jeanty, Johnston, Judkins, Hampton, all go first round in the NFL draft.
We've had this conversation sort of for weeks, sort of behind the scenes. We're going to roll out a ton of 2025 content at Player Profiler, but we've talked about this draft class, Matt, and this is sort of transformative year at the running back position. Last year, we saw a lack of running backs being selected in the second round. We saw a lack of running backs being selected on day 2 in general. All those guys got pushed to the 4th round. There's been some hits, but this is a class where it's a pedigree class. It sort of reminds me of the class that we saw in 2023, where we had Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, and then we saw Charbonnet go early in round 2. There's going to be a number of these guys taken. And also one other factor, Matt, is it's a copycat league. And everybody looks at the team that's been the best team in the league this year, the Lions. The Lions are doing it with 2 running backs. So I think a lot of times we go through these drafts and we say, this team, they've got a running back who's pretty good. There's no way that they would select one of these rookie running backs. But it's a copycat league.
Yeah, the NFL loves a good overcorrection.
Don't be shocked if somebody with a good running back says to themselves, the best player on the board here between picks 25 and 35 is another running back. Let's get this backfield even better, and let's double down at the position. It's a copycat
and
league.
That's why Charbonnet and Chuba Hubbard are both in great shape, because they are sharing the backfield with another running back with draft capital, another premium running back. So be careful what you wish for. If you are in Dynasty and you have a running back on your roster that you think is about to rise up the depth chart, not so fast, not so fast. Sometimes having that built-in competition from another premium back can help you avoid getting a massive influx of touch competition from the NFL draft.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very exciting. I can't wait for our NFL draft coverage at Player Profiler. And it's good for us, the more running backs that are selected. Not only does it give us some good players to talk about fantasy-wise, but it gets Matt Kelly all fired up with talking about general NFL strategy, which is always great. Look forward to some cool announcements with that down the line. Matt, I love that you talked about the young incoming running backs. So let me talk about an older running back. Derrick Henry, in the month of December, for his entire career, is averaging over 5 yards per carry. He averages significantly more yards per carry as the season moves along. He actually averages 5.89 yards per game in January. This is a player that gets better as the season progresses. The only thing that can hold Derrick Henry back is injuries, and he's fully healthy, and he's fully rested. We talked about the levee breaking for the Dallas Cowboys this week. The levee's pretty much broken for the New York Giants already. Flashback to last week, and Kendre Miller with his grown-ass man touchdown, just carrying like 3 Giants defenders in the end zone with him, barreling through them. Derrick Henry this week. I talked about Chuba Hubbard having a 30-point fantasy week. It's not going to be enough. The year of the running back continues in the fantasy football playoffs. Derrick Henry rushes for 3 touchdowns on 150 rushing yards. The Ravens in a name your score type blowout of the New York Giants. And as a bonus, you can even use the Ravens defense this week. Start every single Baltimore Raven, but it's going to be Derrick Henry, your RB1 overall in fantasy this week.
Not so fast. Not so fast, Theo. Not so fast. Typically not a big point chaser, especially at the wide receiver position. Hate point chasing. But I'm going to point chase a running back because, good news. Kenneth Walker with his calf injury. He's merely day-to-day. But we all know in the NFL, day-to-day means week-to-week, and week-to-week means month-to-month. I predict that Kenneth Walker will miss this week, week 15. Charbonnet coming off a 7-for-7 game as a receiver, right? And a 51-yard run. So he has a 51-yard run, and he's 7-for-7 catching passes out of the backfield. He is shaping up to be a high-quality, all-purpose talent. Throw up that Zach Charbonnet profile on the board. Look at Zach Charbonnet on Player Profiler. Check out the workout metrics. Check out his production in college. And his all-purpose skill set is setting him up this week against Green Bay. They are top 10 in the league in fantasy points allowed to opposing running backs. So they're one of the top 10 softest defenses for opposing running backs. He is going to get all the touches. It's teeing up perfectly for Zach Charbonnet. He will be your RB1 this week, and you will want to play him in the fast draft. Flex 6 Frenzy. Use code Podfather. Code Podfather will double your deposit up to $25. Join the Flex 6 Frenzy. You can draft up to 5 teams, $1,000 prize pool. Zach Charbonnet, that's my pick. Giddy up.
I mean, I love it. And Zach Charbonnet, I mean, I think that this is a player that it's been truly awesome what he's been able to accomplish in the games where he's been able to play over 80% of the snaps. The 3 games without Kenneth Walker, he's averaged 27 points per game. This is a guy that, like you said, 7 catches, 2-way back, gets all of the touches. And it's like as soon as Walker misses, Charbonnet turns into arguably the best back in fantasy. It's a no-brainer, top 5, but I'll say he's RB2 overall. RB3 behind Chuba Hubbard. So I'll give you that. He's going to be a top 5 back. I'll continue this with a little bit of going with a younger player. You're talking about a second-year player in Charbonnet. Let me go back to a rookie prediction. Malik Nabers right now is sitting on 80 receptions. And I think this has been a guy where we were so effusive in our praise of him early in the season that it's been sort of like a quiet 80 catch season. And it's remarkable to think about this, Matt. Malik Nabers has 11 games played and 80 catches on the year. Think about all that time he missed. To put that in perspective, Jamar Chase had an incredible rookie season in 2021 and finished with 81 receptions. We think about Garrett Wilson, AFC Offensive Rookie of the Year, with 83 receptions in 2022, only 3 more than Malik Nabers, and he did that in 17 games played. I think Malik Nabers is absolutely due for a huge game. I talked about what the Ravens are going to do against the New York Giants, but that is not going to affect Malik Nabers because this is a player who's going to catch pass after pass after pass after pass all second half. I think he has 12 receptions this week, and I think this is a player that you want to jam in your DFS lineups. Derrick Henry on one side, Malik Nabers on the other, and I think this is one where Nabers is going to finish as a top 5 receiver on the week, and I think this is going to start his climb towards the record books. We talked about Brock Bowers for weeks on the show about his assault on the record books. Well, don't look now, Matt, but Brock Bowers is at 87 receptions. Malik Nabers is at 80. Both of these players are going to finish extremely high up in the overall receptions leaders. I think Malik Nabers is on a collision course with 100 catch season. Sounds about right to me. Maybe more. If he can hold up. He's been dealing with a couple injuries here, but as long as he's on the field, expect for Malik Nabers to end the season very well. He has a fantastic schedule starting with Baltimore in the fantasy football playoffs.
I love it. And I love Malik Nabers in Dynasty, especially. Check out the Dynasty rankings on playerprofiler.com, the best Dynasty rankings in the business. And you can get the all-in package. The all-in package right now, holiday special for the remainder of the year, plus the month of January. You can get the entire all-in package, including data analysis. You get all those year-end stats. You can download them. You can export them in whatever format. Data analysis. You get all the rankings. You get the Dynasty package. You get the DFS Dominator. It's a great deal. So code is Santa. You got to use the code Santa in the month of December to get the all-in package for $25. Chasing the record books, right? Chasing the record books. Who's going to be a first-round pick in best ball next year? Is it going to be Malik Nabers? Probably. I can see Malik Nabers going first round in best ball next year. There's another receiver also chasing records that I believe is going to touch the first round in best ball in particular. And he will have more receptions at the end of the year than even Malik Nabers. And his name is Jaxon Smith-Njigba, JSN. He's chasing the all-time single-season receptions record for the Seahawks. It's held currently by Tyler Lockett. It's right at 100. Jaxon Smith-Njigba blows past 100 receptions this year. He will crush Tyler Lockett's record, and he will be a first-round pick. There will be drafts next year, especially on platforms like Underdog. There will be JSN in the first round, sometimes even ahead of Malik Nabers.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this on the pre-show, and I feel like the situation reminds me a little bit about Amon-Ra St. Brown heading from year 2 to year 3. Now, JSN didn't have that sort of scheme to end his rookie year that Amon-Ra St. Brown had, but I think when it comes down to it, it's a player that people are going to get very excited about this offseason when they look at his stats in a whole, when they look at sort of the ascent he had throughout the season to take on this prominent role. And Matt, the ability to overcome DK Metcalf as the preferred target in this offense.
DK who?
And Tyler Lockett too, Matt. Tyler Lockett, you mentioned, both those guys, longtime Seattle Seahawk standout.
Tyler Lockett's still on the team?
You wouldn't know it because of JSN. You would not know it. He's just there to tap him on the shoulder and remind him about the record that he's about to break as a motivational guy. But yeah, I think that it's really become his offense when it comes down to it. Like the running backs have been able to rotate in and both give you this very, very high usage and performance. But JSN has been the focal point for the better portion of the season now. For me, you talked about the draft with the running back position. And I think if you're a dynasty manager and you're starting to consume what this class is, and I think another transformative position, and it's sort of hard to wrap your head around this because you saw Sam Laporta finish as the tight end 1 overall as a rookie coming out of the 2023 class. And then we saw Brock Bowers, our tight end 1 in the player profiler dynasty rankings at the tight end position in the 2024 class. So we've had back-to-back seasons with immense success from rookie tight ends. But Matt, I think collectively, this upcoming class is going to be one of the better ones we've ever seen. We talked about how transformative the running back position is in this class. I think that this is also a transformative tight end class coming in. They have a bunch of players with size, receiving ability, and athleticism. And I think you're going to see a ton of draft capital from these guys. It's very rare that we see 2 tight ends selected in the first round. Last year, of course, it was Brock Bowers early in the first, and then we didn't see another tight end until Ben Sinnott late in the second. The year before, it was a class where we thought maybe, Matt, that we would have seen multiple tight ends go in the first round, but it was Dalton Kincaid goes in the first, and then it was like a slew of tight ends going in the second round.
Michael Mayer, Sam Laporta,
Luke Musgrave. This year, I think that the NFL is going to correct. This is not a tremendous draft class in terms of stars. So I think that NFL teams are wisely going to push up the best players out of the best positions. And 2 of those players are going to be Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland, 2 Big Ten tight ends. Tyler Warren, for me, is my tight end 1 in this class. I think he's tremendous. He set a record for the most receptions ever by a tight end in the Big Ten. And you say, oh, Theo, he must be, some 6'3", 230-pounder who moves very well to put up stats like that. No, he is prototypical classic tight end size, 6'6", 260. I think someone's going to fall in love with him in the NFL draft. I think Tyler Warren might end up being around pick number 10, but I will say he's a lock to go inside of the top 18 picks. And people are not going to pass up the opportunity to take Colston Loveland right behind him, another big athletic tight end who can catch the ball. You're going to see 2 tight ends selected in the first 18 picks, and then you're going to see 3 more selected by the end of round 2. Aronde Gadsden from Syracuse, another big athletic tight end. Harold Fannin Jr., who's a player who I'll have about 100% exposure to in Dynasty, an absolute stud, but the smallest tight end in this class, but arguably one of the best pass catchers out of Bowling Green. And then Mason Taylor, the big tight end out of LSU, will be an early declare. He's also going to go inside the second round. So this is going to be a transformative year at the tight end position. Get ready to say the name Tyler Warren a lot this offseason, guys.
The athletic testing will determine everything. If these guys test well at the combine, we could look at even 3 tight ends in the first round. Remember the year of Evan Ingram, David Njoku, O.J. Howard, all in the first round. And when you talk about the running back class, I compare this upcoming running back class to the 2018 class.
Whoa.
The Barkley, Saquon, also had some Ronald Jones in there, Sony Michel. So a lot of first rounders in that draft. I believe we're going to see a trade eventually. Because you look at all the 2025 draft picks, it's all chalk right now. There's been no trades, right? There's no pick swaps. It's 32 teams all drafting where they finish in 2025 for now. For now. But we are going to start to see some moves being made. Garrett Wilson on the block. Jets in need of a quarterback. Patriots still in the running for the 101, and they have their quarterback in Drake May. Shadur Sanders rising, right, in the wake of the new appreciation that the NFL has for the mobile all-purpose quarterbacks. See Jaden Daniels. For this reason, I believe that the New England Patriots are going to be in the market to move down and acquire a wide receiver. And what does that mean? That means that the Jets and the Patriots might find themselves having to do business. These mortal enemy franchises, both former employers of one Bill Belichick, could be forced, a forced marriage, a forced trade between these two. And ironically, it could be Mac Jones that puts all of this in motion. Mac Jones and the Jaguars play Desmond Ridder and the Raiders to close out the season. And Desmond Ridder is the best quarterback on the Raiders roster. Desmond Ridder is going to screw the Raiders out of the 101 because he's too good. He's also an all-purpose mobile quarterback. He's accurate. He's played in big games. So I expect Desmond Ridder to win at least one game for the Raiders, if not more. Bump them out, and the Patriots move in, get the pick that would be Shadur Sanders, and trade it to the Jets for a package of a future first rounder, and Garrett Wilson becomes a New England Patriot.
Impossible. They're mortal enemies, Matt. It's too bold. The people are not ready for a New York Jets, New England Patriots trade involving Garrett Wilson. Let them know one more time about the code that they can use right now at Player Profiler, Matt.
The string theory conspiracy of NFL draft. Bold hot takes right here at playerprofiler.com. Go to playerprofiler.com. Use that code Santa and get the all-in package right now for $25. The best deal you'll ever get. Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.